Hi students, welcome to the Mock 1 discussion of Nctech, that is for the Strategic Business Leader, December 2023. Now students, before I go for the mock exam discussion, I just want to give you a very important guidance to all the students that if you go to the ACCA global website, you have the SBL section and then you have exam technique. Now students, one of the greatest thing is ACCA has done is they have uploaded the answers of the Cojet case study, the task 1, 2, 3, that was the previous September 2023 attempt. Now, students, the advantage of this is if you go to the website, you will be able to observe one good thing. That is, they have given some marked answers of two students. That is, one student who has got 26 out of 32, and there is another student who has only got 1 out of 32. Now, in this case, they have also given the reason why the students have got very low marks, and you need to go through that students. And the very great thing is they have also analyzed the answer, because if you observe, you see this note, and they have effectively mentioned there is merely this is all the introduction, no marks earned. So just you need to get the understanding. Just writing introductions, you may not get marks. And then students, if you observe, clear identification of the problem here, and the hierarchy led to poor communication and low staff satisfaction leading to poor customer satisfaction. You see interrelationship. Now for that you get effectively 1 mark. So students, just writing you will not get marks. You have to be futuristic. You have to take a point, you have to think the implications. That means the effects that can have because of this incidents, like a strategist. So you will be getting 1 mark, and students, in this, I generally feel that the marking has been very strict, so don't worry. But in certain points, he has given 3 marks, in certain points, he has given 2 marks. But effectively, the explanation is very, very good, students. So my suggestion, just go through this answer of the good student and the weak student, and identify the strength of the good student, identify the weakness of the weak students, and strike a balance and score very good marks in your upcoming exams. Now, students, if you come to the case study, now we are going for the discussion of the mock number 1. And before I start going with the mock discussion, students, I just want to give you a clear idea that this question paper may not come in the examination. This is just a simulation for the students, how the exams will be structured and how you can improve your skill level of typing and thinking, and the time management, and also how to manage your marks. Because if you write more, you will not get marks. If you write less also, you will not get marks. You have to write it which is more to the question marks they have asked for. Now students, if you observe in this case, you are the management consultant. This is the task 1, and they are effectively saying that you have to prepare 2 PowerPoint presentation slides. Now, if you go to the SBL exam, definitely one question will be on PowerPoint slide, and I will just guide you on how you can score a lot of marks in the examination. So, RIN model outlining relevance to Nctech. Now, students, understand it very well. The key factor you have to consider is outlining to Nctech, which is 4 marks they have given, and explain for each factor valuable, rarity, inimitable, non-substitute, 2 factors for Nctech. Now the verb is explained. Now in this case of SBL examination, students, you need not go for perfection. You have to be very much practical to the situation. In case if you can't think, you need to mention that in more realistic manner and make sure you score the marks as much as possible. And the communication skills, you will be earning 4 marks, so keep that in mind. Now students, if I was in your position, just to give you an idea, before I start writing the answer, I will be very careful with the verbs. Now the verb in this case is outline, so no need to go for a detailed discussion. So I'll just write down here, outline is the verb for my understanding. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, the other thing is, students, relevance to Nctech. So my answer should be relevant to this so that I get the 4 marks. And then students, explain for each factor valuable, rarity, inimitable, and non-substitutable 2 factors for Nctech. Now this question generally will make the students think, and this question will eat the time of the students. But you have to be very careful, because if you see 2 factors, if you identify, in simple language, 2 factors into 4, that is the RIN 4, that will effectively give you 8, right? So for each factor what you identify, you get 1 mark each. But students, be very, very careful in the examination because this will kill your time. And students, if you see communication skills, so 2 marks I can give you for each presentation. It may vary according to the marking scheme, and 2 marks for your clarity, how much your information is very clear. Now, this question was purposely designed in order to make sure the students get the experience and make sure they do well in the examination. Now, if you go to the examination, students, they may have exhibit. Now, you see in this case, they are telling the overview. Exhibit 1 is value differentiation. Exhibit 2 is investment proposal. Exhibit 3 is funders concern. And exhibit 4 is big data analytics. Now, students, I'll just go through the exhibit number 1. And in this case, what is the problem? As you are aware, there is a change in the market. And the players in the market are currently focusing on new services like SAS. Now, students, this every time we already know in the pre-scene that the market, there is a drift. The market is going more towards new technologies. So you have to keep that in mind. Therefore, considering the threats of new entrants due to boundaryless organization, because if you have a website, students, you can easily enter the market. You need not have a building or anything like that. There are more challenges associated with value differentiation factor. So indirectly they are saying the overview of the situation. The overview of the situation is very clear. Rivalry is very high. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, they are also saying the boundaryless organizations are also coming forward. Now, general student, they'll just take these data only. They will not think outside the box. They just take this and they will write this is the relevance. But your relevance should be more futuristic. You have to tell it specifically what are the impact that can take place. Since in the past, the company was developed purely based on cloud development, there are chances that the company needs to make sure they are able to have some value differentiation in order to sustain the business in the competitive environment. So as you already know, students, we are just an infrastructure as a service only. And if you see nowadays, it has become more practical with more other features coming into the market. The management has requested to produce RIN analysis for a PowerPoint presentation. Therefore, in the long run, look at the verbs they are using. We may be aware what are the points to be considered as well. And therefore, in that case, we may be able to have a better understanding in the business model to be updated in the long term. So students, again, they are telling the long-term picture. The question emphasizes long-term picture. Now, if you observe, I'm quickly going to my question. The part A, they are telling a RIN model outlining the relevance to Nctech. So students, it's a PowerPoint presentation. So if I'll just plan the answer, so I just need to give a small idea what is RIN model. So students, that is one technical knowledge I have to have. And then students, what are the relevance? Why there's a relevance? One thing is rising competition. Rise in competition, you have to mention fallen. Rise in competition, and specifically you have to mention fallen. And then emergence of boundaryless organization, specifically to fallen. That is one more thing. And the next thing is, students, if I'm not mistaken, I can effectively say, students, is innovation of new technology. Innovation of new technology. Because that is also one factor. Innovation of new technology, cloud industry. Okay. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, another factor I can effectively write it down is globalization. Students, even globalization is one important factor that you have to keep in mind. Because students, globalization is connecting everyone in this world towards one single unit. So you have to make sure that the globalization factor is explained as well. So students, I believe this is very clear for you all at the moment. So this is the part A requirement on RIN model developments. These are the point developers, but you can't just write it down. You have to make sure you explain, because the verb here is outline. Outline is a basic explanation only. So if you don't mind, students, I'm going to work with you all so that it will be very, very easy for you all to understand. So the first thing, students, I'm going to write down here is RIN model, RIN model to, if I'm not mistaken, Tech, Tech. So that is my heading. So I'll just make sure this is my PowerPoint slide so that it's very clear for the students. And a request, you can just make it as a center point so that it will be very nice for the reader also. Once you made that, students, my suggestion is make into bullets. So students, what I will do, I'll just keep the bullets in the corner so that it will be very easy for you. I'm going to write down here introduction of RIN model. Introduction of what, students? RIN model. And relevance to Nctech. Relevance to Nctech. So that is one bullet point which I have to keep in mind. There needs to be a flow. Then students, I have to effectively write down increase in competition for cloud service industry. And students, within brackets, I can just say expected market revenue expected to double. Market revenue expected to double. This is a key highlighter. Correct? Expected to double. Can you remember, students? It's going to rise. That was clearly mentioned. And then, students, the next thing I have to say is emergence of boundary-less organization. Emergence of boundary-less organization. And again, I have to say one more thing, organization infallen. And then I can also put a small dash and I can say easier for the user since no need of physical servers, because you need not have physical, what, students? Servers. No need of physical 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 servers. I'll just bring it down here. No need of physical servers. And the next one, students, just to make your thinking even better, I can also say another factor. Innovation in new technology. Innovation in new technology. So I'll just write down here Nctech. Are we at flux? Are we at flux? Are we at flux? Since IaaS, that is infrastructure as a service. And the next one, students, if I'm not mistaken, globalization. Can the international players connect with fallen customers or fallen SME clients? That is one factor. So students, are you clear with this? Are you clear with this, students? Are you clear why we have to have a RIN model? Because the next PowerPoint presentation will be explaining more about the RIN model factors on valuable everything. But I believe this is how you have to structurize it. So I believe everyone is clear, and I will share this document also. Don't worry about that. Now, in the speaker note, what I have to do is I have to explain this step by step. So I'll just write down here. RIN model stands for valuable, rarity, and then, students, I can say inimitable, and also I can effectively say non-substitutable. Non-substitutable. Okay, students, one thing. Don't worry about the spelling. Again, examiner is not much concerned about that. Substitutable. Okay. Okay, so students, this is an internal analysis tool. This is an internal analysis tool. This is an internal analysis tool that is used to make sure that the company can differentiate itself from the market rivals. Also, this will generally help the business to have a competitive advantage, and also build build, if I'm not mistaken, co-competences. For instance, NC Tech can use this model for making sure they have a they have they have a differentiation in the SME clients. Therefore, they can have a longer customer loyalty due to differentiation. Okay, so students, that is the RIN model. Now, my answers are very much long, students. You can just reduce the content, but it should be more practical and relevant only. Now, next thing, students, just to make your answer quality. So, the first thing is RIN model, my technical knowledge, increase in competition. So, students, I can just say the computing industry, the cloud computing industry, the cloud computing industry is currently forecasted. Look at the term forecasted to have a double growth in the revenue. Therefore, there will be rise in competition as well. In that perspective, Nctech needs to anticipate the challenges that may rise. So they need to value differentiate themselves so that the rivalry may not affect them directly. Example, Amazon Web Services. Now, students, in real life, in the exam, if you don't get a practical point, no problem. That's completely fine. But I just want to give you the idea. Now, the next thing, students, if I'm not mistaken, just to make your thought process better and clearer also, so I'll write down the other one. There are chances of boundaryless organization affecting the business of fallen cloud computing industry. Since anyone with a website can access the local customers in the case of there is a better service. For instance, if software as a service is cheaper and available, there are chances the business will suffer, since the SME clients may prefer the best convenient service. This may help the clients to shift to another sector. So students, this is one point I am just writing it down. So the boundaryless concept is very practical because www anything comes, yeah, people will get the access. Now students, the next thing is, if I'm not mistaken, innovation in new technology. So I have to write down here the company, or I can say the company Nctech, the company Nctech or Nctech has not invested in R&D, or I can say research and development, to ensure there are some rare features. Look at the term, rare features which cannot be inimitable, which cannot be, if I'm not mistaken, inimitable. However, at present, the technological drift is higher. The technological drift is higher. Is higher. Correct, no students, if I'm not mistaken. In that case, there is a bigger challenge. There is a bigger challenge that the company, that the company is effectively in the face of a flux. Effectively in the face of a flux. In the face of a flux where they have to transform or else they may demise. They have to transform or else they may demise because of SAS technology availability, which may become affordable in the future, students. Currently everything is affordable at the moment. In the future, always think about the future. That is one more factor. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, the last point in this case is globalization. So I'll just write down here, the globalization is a critical factor to be considered since the clients in Farlan now can get better service at a lower price. Therefore, in that case, there is a higher level chance that the company may effectively have to suffer the challenges from global companies which are dominating the market, which are dominating the market. In that case, this will be a major challenge as well. Full stop. Students, keep that in mind. So students, these are the factors that you have to consider. Just to give you the idea, just make sure your answers are more connected like a real life PowerPoint presentation. This is what is needed. Now, students, one section is over. Now, let's go to the second part of this. So, the second part of this, students, just to give you the idea, they are saying, if I'm not mistaken, explain for each factor, valuable, rarity, inimitable, non-substitutable, two factors for Nctech. Now, students, I told you your answer needs to be futuristic. Now, with the present material, if you go to the examination, the biggest challenge is you can't think about the future. So you have to use your creativity and innovation and make sure you come up with points which are very much futuristic. So students, I'll just write down the second point. I can say RIN factors that can be applied to Nctech. RIN factors that can be applied to Nctech. So just remember, I'm keeping that in the center. Okay, students, nothing to worry. So let's effectively come to this. It's not a difficult task. Now, in this case, what I have to effectively write down here is one is valuable factors for Nctech. Quickly, you can write down, if I'm not mistaken, valuable factors for Nctech. I can effectively write down one valuable factor is cyber security. Cyber security, that is one valuable factor. And the other valuable factor, if I'm not mistaken, is students, data transparency, or I can say data encryption. We do not have anything mentioned in the case study, but these can be like my point of view. But students, to be frank, you can write anything. This is just a model way of writing. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, the rarity or the rare factors which are not there. Valuable factors, others can do it. Rare factors, if I'm not mistaken, I can effectively say is currently. What are the rare factors? Server quality. That is one rare factor, if I'm not mistaken. And the other one is students, if I'm not mistaken, prevention of data loss, prevention of data loss, prevention of data loss. In simple language, students, data protection, data protection. So that is rare because they have some rare things, your data won't get affected. Then inimitable. Now one thing, fallen business, fallen cloud computing service, fallen cloud computing, nationalization. You can say this is an Indian organization, made in India, or make in India, made in China, like that, fallen cloud computing. And the other one, students, inimitable factor we can effectively consider in this case is a relationship with clients, relationship with clients, because 10 years, right, 10 years we have certain clients who are our clients for a long time. And then students, non-substitutability. I can effectively say is students, the web domain, their web domain you can't substitute, if I'm not mistaken. That is the same thing because there is nothing like that. And the other one, students, if I'm not mistaken, things that you can't substitute is previous client data. Now students, the client's data what you have, you can't substitute it. You just keep it with you safely and keep it in that. And then students, I can effectively say whether do we have any patents, we don't know. But these patents all are very important things that you have to keep in mind. So students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just write the explanation point so that it will be very clear. So a basic introduction so that I may not get any marks, but the thing is I just want to make the examiner's life little bit easy. RIN model can be applied to Nctech as follows. So students, I'll just write down here a heading, valuable factors. A heading like this, valuable factors, valuable factors, valuable factors. Okay, so in this valuable factors, the first thing what I have to write it down is I can say the points here. Generally, the clients are preferring the data to be protected, data protection, where they don't suffer any losses of data. Since it is very much essential for the business. Then students, I can effectively say also this can be a valuable factor, since to date we have not yet encountered such issues. Encountered such issues. Encountered such issues. So I believe this gives a better clarity. Just a basic application is sufficient. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, the next thing is data encryption or cyber security. So I'll write down here, cyber security, where there is no access provided to third party and the robust systems that has been followed can be considered as well. For instance, in the case of Nctech, there can be data encryption. There can be data, what students? Encryption. There can be data encryption where the data is stored and even the Nctech does not have any access on the data. This may enhance the customer confidence. This may enhance the customer confidence as well. That is valuable factor. Explanation. And then students, rarity or rare. The second one, rare. So I'll just break this down into a heading, rare. So in this case, students, let's focus on the following thing. Now, I just want to say one thing. Since at the moment, we are effectively providing infrastructure as a service, the server quality is essential. Therefore, until now, there is no complaints as well. Therefore, in that case, this will help the business to make sure that the service quality is unique. Now I'm discussing it. However, due to the emergence of SaaS, there are chances that we cannot rely on this for a longer period. And the other one, students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just make sure is network stability. Can be another factor. Since the service needs to be available. And also, there are chances internet can be an issue. But in most cases, the server quality is great. And the network is also fine. But still, this cannot be sufficient with the future expectation of the clients. I believe that is also fine. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, inimitability. In that case, I'll just write it down so that it's very clear. So in this, I'll write down here the inimitability. I can say Nctech has the pride to demonstrate themselves as the fallen cloud service organization for the past 10 years. Therefore, this can be a national competitive advantage. Therefore, it will be very challenging for international organizations to imitate this. But for Nctech, this is not sufficient. This is not sufficient for international expansion. This is not sufficient for international expansion. Correct, no students? Can they go with this for a foreign country? I don't personally think so. So keep that in mind. And the last one is non-substitutability. Non-substitutability. In that case, students, I think I had to write one more point, sorry. So the next point is, students, one is story. I think the fallen, and the other one is the client relationship. So I'll write down here, client relationship with SME has been for a period of how many years? 10 years, which has built a loyalty, and the founder's story may also have some I can say reliability, which would have developed a strong relationship with the institutional shareholders, as well, because for a long time they have done. So this is something that they can't do it. And then, students, if I'm not mistaken, non-substitutability. The website the company has, and the service platforms they have used will be very challenging to substitute. But the new technology of SaaS can substitute at the moment. Now see, students, I am thinking here, substitute at the moment. Therefore, Nctech needs to consider this factor. Now, do you observe, students? This is a very important point of view. That is one thing. And then, students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just write down here. In case, I'll write down here so that it will be very easy for you all. In case if there is any patents, these two cannot be substituted due to legal restrictions. But the biggest concern can be, but in reality, since there are better technologies, will these patents be a useful resource? So that is a question mark. And one thing, students, as I told you, when you are doing SBL or any P-level examination, your skeptical thinking is very essential. So that's, I'm telling you, and it's also mentioned think little bit skeptical, ask lot of questions, then your answer will be clear. So students, this is the complete answer I have just made for this question. I believe it is clear for you all students. I will continue the video, next video for part B, which is the financial analysis. And if you have any questions on this, please do let me know. Thank you very much, students.